Celebrating Tobago's culture and fostering unity is the tagline of the Tobago October Carnival Association. They join us in the form of Interim President Dexter Sandy to discuss plans for the upcoming Tobago Carnival in October. Mr. Sandy, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Now.
Good morning, Kimberly, and good morning to all your viewers. Thanks for having me.
Of course, a pleasure to have you in. We were just talking about Tobago Carnival a while ago, so we ourselves are excited about the second one that's coming up.
Yeah.
But tell us about the organization first. I understand it's a new organization. Tell us about it and some of the objectives as it relates to Tobago Carnival.
All right, so with the first installment of Tobago Carnival being last year, a lot of bands came out. We did what we had to do.
Yeah.
And we realized that there were some issues and there were commonalities across the bands. And I think what we needed to do, we realized that we needed to have a voice. So we came together as a team and decided to form this organization, the Tobago October Carnival Association. So right now the association comprises at least 16 bands that would have participated last year and are participating this year. We know that there are some bands that have not yet joined the team, so we're still spreading the word and getting the other band leaders on board. But our primary focus is really to have a voice, to chat with the Tobago House of Assembly, so let's work out what worked well last year, what ideas we have in mind for this year to enhance the product and make Tobago Carnival look good.
Yeah. You mentioned some of the issues that were experienced last year. Tell us about some of the challenges that they had.
All right. So last year, and I mean, the advent of the carnival was fantastic. When we heard them announce the carnival, we knew the core purpose of it was to assist in pushing the tourism of Tobago, right? And we jumped on board. Some bands would have already been participating in National Carnival. Last year we had a lot of new bands forming, persons who were into entertainment, shifting from probably events and parties into to mass bands. And the shift now, it really energized us, right? There were plans afoot with the Festivals Commission, the route, things like that. And on the actual day, we realized that the actual 5-kilometer route was too long, right? So we had to shorten the route on the day. We had some issues with regards to the timing, right? Carnival was proclaimed, so we had expectations that the carnival was going to run for the entire day. Lo and behold, we were on the road from just about midday till about 6 p.m. You know, so we were cut short there. All right. So instances like that, we said, listen, we have to have a voice as mass bands. Chat with the Festivals Commission and let's get this thing right.
Yeah.
Right. And we have done so successfully this year by the formation of the group, and we have conversations ongoing with Festivals Commission and they're going well. So we should see definitely a better product this year.
Yeah. Well, tell us some of the discussion coming out from the meeting with the Festival Commission. I know you mentioned the route, that might be an issue. I also understand that you're encouraging the smaller bands, those who may have 20 masqueraders, to join to make, one bigger band. So tell us about some of the conversation.
Yeah. So the tradition in Tobago is that the Festivals Commission would facilitate certain infrastructure for the bands that really can't afford it. It's not really viable based on the head count of the number of masqueraders in the band. So last year we had a lot of trucks on the road, and you saw small pockets, which were small bands, 20 people, 30 people behind a truck. And really and truly, it's not a good image just to see such a small number of persons behind a truck. You saw, as one person said to me up to yesterday, there were more trucks than people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So what we did as an association, we said, listen, let us work out a strategy that will look better and really financially we can afford. So we decided what we will do is cluster bands this year, and we are working on that as we speak. In terms of head counts, rather than have the small numbers like the 20 or 30 behind a music truck, we should be looking at in excess of 400 to 500 behind any one truck.
Right.
Now, overall last year, the band's head counts were just under 1,000. And this year, our anticipation is that we should increase, we should double. So in anticipation of that, the smaller bands, we're encouraging them to come join with the larger bands. We will still have your identity will still be maintained, but at least in terms of sharing resources, whether it be for the drinks trucks, the rest stops for food, security, those different things, we really spoke to the members and we said, look, let's come together.
Yeah.
And when you look at the optics now that we will generate in terms of the images and the videos, it will look much better.
Yeah. Let's also talk about the parade route, because you mentioned it was supposed to be 5 kilometers, but it was shortened.
Yeah.
Tell us about the parade route for this year. And also, I know there was a decision to, sort of centralize the major activities in Scarborough.
Yeah.
Is the organization on board with that, or do you think there should still be, pockets of events outside?
So I will chat about I'll chat concerning the route. The route, which was 5 kilometers last year, it's encompassed Scarborough and going into the part of the village of Lambo. Right, and that's what was recommended. But on the parade day itself, we realized we just did the circumference of Scarborough. And that was really perfect for us because at the time, our masqueraders were really exhausted.
Yes, yeah.
We needed to go to lunch, but because we started late, they really went to dinner, right? We really came off the road just at 6 p.m. and people were getting refreshments at that stage. So this year, we're going to start earlier. We have, in terms of discussion, we have asked to start earlier, at least at 9 a.m. in the morning. We get bands on the road early, and that we can probably do that circumference twice. Right, because we have a lot more time.
From Scarborough to Lambo.
So we're not going down to Lambo. We're starting at Shore Park. Right. We come out onto the highway, which will take us back into Wilson Road, Scarborough. And in the evening time, we should end up on the waterfront. Right. And that's really the euphoric moment that people are looking for, to be able to be parading their costume along the waterfront. So the route this year will be the reverse of last year. And we eliminated the issue of going down to Lambo, because even the residents down at Lambo had some concerns that we're going to be having masqueraders coming through there, the music trucks, that sort of thing, right? So we're going the reverse of what we did last year, and that worked well. That's going to be working well, I would say so.
And in terms of the major activities taking place in Scarborough?
Centralizing Scarborough, right. So Festivals Commission said that they did a study and coming out of Carnival last year, and based on the stakeholders that they would have spoken with, and also coupled with the logistics issues that they had at Crown Point last year, they said the best recommendation right now is to centralize everything in Scarborough. And as an association, we discussed it, we trashed it out, and the majority said yes, let's keep everything focused in Scarborough. Scarborough could be built out as a hub, right? And the different elements that needs to take place over the 3 days, from the 27th to the 29th, they can all be housed in Scarborough. So on the 27th, they have the pan and powder. We know the sailor mass is coming out on that Friday afternoon. A lot of pan bands are expected to be on the road. They have pan sides looking to come from Trinidad to Tobago to participate in that, right? And that's in Scarborough. The Juve last year had the bottleneck down at Crown Point, right? And even at the completion of Juve, that's about 9:30. The police themselves said that there was a 1 hour gridlock of traffic after Juve. It was sort of cumbersome. And I mean, in Crown Point, the airport is right there. A lot of residents were affected. So we're trying, when they recommended, let's try something new for this year. So let's move the Juve and keep the Juve only in Scarborough. Right? The parade of the bands will continue to be in Scarborough. So it's the second year of the carnival. Let's see how it works.
Let's see how it works. Now, earlier you mentioned that you have, 14 bands on board with the organization, and you're trying to get more bands to sort of buy into the idea. Is it mandatory to join the organization, one? And how is the work of this organization different from the other groups who would have formed themselves?
All right, so no, it's not mandatory. But if you're looking at the bigger picture, it will make sense to be a part of an organization like this, because as a band, you could only benefit from coming together with others in your industry, right, and brainstorming and come up with ideas. No man is an island to himself, right? So we will encourage the other bands. I mean, right now, many of them may not have heard about the organization, but given the media release we put out this week, and the media rounds that we're making, we're kind of sensitizing the other band leaders to come on board. The other question?
No, well then that was it. But I also wanted to touch on funding because you mentioned that you have been talking to the Festivals Commission. I know last year for the inaugural festival, a lot of people were also talking about that there was a lack of funding. How is that this year? Do you have the support from the different commissions to help you really bring this to a successful, or make it a successful one?
Right. So the carnival was formed, as a tourism trust.
Yeah.
And we know that any tourism trust, there's going to be economic activity on the island, and everybody should benefit.
Yeah.
Right? And last year, we had a major concert which featured Burna Boy, and that brought a lot of traffic to the island. Right? The airlines sold out, guest houses, hotels,
yes.
everything was sold out.
Yes.
And that was also coupled with the persons who were coming specifically for the carnival.
Right.
Right? But what we realized is that most of the persons that came for the Burna Boy and to spectate for the carnival. So as mass bands, when we anticipated that each band would have at least 1,000 to 2,000 masqueraders, that was not the reality. In total, right, with at least 12 bands on the road, we were just under 1,000, right?
Masqueraders?
Masqueraders.
Wow.
Correct, right?
Wow.
So really and truly, the challenge there was that we as the mass bands didn't really see the success. You know, you go down to the airport, you chat to the car rental guys, all their cars were out. You talk with the agents who rent out the villas and the townhouses, all those were fully booked. But us as the mass bands, it didn't translate into us seeing a lot of numbers participating, buying into our costumes.
Yeah.
And we would have invested. We would have put the right things in place. We would have invested in the 40-foot trailer for music. We would have gotten the drink shop. We would have set up band houses. We'd have produced a certain number of costumes, expecting the buy-in, and it really did not happen, right? So many of us would have suffered financial losses, but we looked at it in a positive way. Okay, it was the first year. We have some tweaks to make. Let's get it right for the second year. We know that we're not going to have a major show like Burna Boy again to disrupt.
Yeah.
But if there's a major show that is carnival related, that will bring probably a Marshall or a Kess or somebody that is a big player in the soca industry, we can see that working for the festival. And that way a masquerader who is in Trinidad will know, I'm not just coming to Tobago to play mass, I'm going to go to 1 or 2 major concerts.
But do we see that happening already? Do we have that major concert to pull them in? Because I mean, today's the 14th. We have Carnival coming up, and the activity starts on the 13th of October.
Yeah.
Do we have that major concert to sort of offset the cost that the band leaders would have invested in this carnival?
At this point in time, I haven't heard any announcement of any major concert.
Yeah.
We know that the Tobago House of Assembly through Festivals Commission, they have a calendar of events which they have to put out. And the calendar runs from, I think it's the 13th, right up to the end of the month. Calypso competition, soca competition. I know there's a Rocks Glow event on the Thursday.
Yeah.
We're still waiting for feedback on that in terms of what the performing acts, hoping that there'll be a major act there to kind of draw persons. Because the word on the ground here in Trinidad is that we're not hearing much about the carnival. And we know that came primarily because of the marketing. It started off pretty late, right? I would say mass bands took in front, and we had bands launching from as early as June the 18th,
Yeah.
right? And bands launched in June, later June, July. I think in July now we started, our launches started to get caught up in the Trinidad mass band launches, the larger ones. So our message started to get a little distorted. Right, but we still try to market.
Yeah.
From the Festival Commission side, they're now ramping up their marketing activities. They had the launch at Independence Night at Bago Jam.
Yes.
Right, so the marketing efforts have just started. But with a carnival, we need to be out there 6 and 7 months
much earlier
in advance, so that a masquerader has the opportunity to contemplate, do I want to go to Tobago as a destination to play mass? Okay, yes. Where do I stay? How do I get there?
And of course, that will drive the economic activity in Tobago.
Correct.
I have one more question before you go. I know that we've been talking about the MV Cabo Star being out of operation. You have about 1 more minute left. Is that affecting the mass bands bringing up their materials and that sort of thing in any way?
As it is right now, no. We're able to move materials specifically on the fast ferry for those of us who need to move materials. But the Cabo Star as a cargo vessel is really important for the carnival.
Closer to the event.
Closer to the event, because definitely we have a lot of equipment and trucks that need to come from Trinidad to Tobago. So it is really ideal that we need to get the Cabo Star back up and running. The temporary boat that we received this week, that will not suffice for carnival. So we're really hoping that things get in play and fall in line for us to get the Cabo Star back on board and really assist us
of course.
at that time of the year.
But Mr. Sandy, before you go, if anyone needs any more information, how can we reach out to the association?
All right, so the association, we just launched our Instagram page. The content hasn't been loaded as yet, but you can go and follow us at Tobago October Carnival Association with Instagram. The Facebook should be up and running this week, but feel free to send us an email at tocassociation23@gmail.com, or you could give me a call at 687-4262, and we could chat from there.
Nice. Mr. Sandy, pleasure having you in this morning. All the best with the association, and I really hope that the plans that you have, we can see it as a really successful event for this year's showing of Tobago Carnival.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Have a good one.
All right, you too.
And that, of course, was Interim President of the Tobago October Carnival Association, Mr. Dexter Sandy, just giving us an overview of the association. On the Now Morning Show, we're going to take a break and be right back. Stay with us.